be me, 22, terminally online, but trying to touch grass for once in my pathetic existence. Decided to go to local gaming cafe because my internet died and I needed my daily dose of cope and maybe human interaction. Walk in and immediately spot this Femanon sitting with some dude who looks like he stepped out of a Hollywood rom-com trailer. She's wearing this oversized anime hoodie with some magical girl on it and has that "I'm not like other girls" energy radiating from her soul. Boyfriend looks like he bench presses protein powder for breakfast and has never seen the inside of a Reddit thread in his entire life. I'm standing there like an NPC waiting for dialogue options when she looks over and makes brief eye contact. My autism levels immediately spike to dangerous territory and I can feel my palms getting sweaty. Decide this is my main character moment and walk over to their table like I have actual confidence. "Hey, cool hoodie. Is that from that slice of life anime about the girl who works at a maid cafe and fights demons on weekends?" She perks up like I just activated her trap card and her eyes literally light up. Oh my god, yes, finally someone who gets it. Most people think it's just some random anime girl with pink hair. Boyfriend just stares at me like I'm speaking ancient Sumerian mixed with Klingon. I pull up a chair without being invited because social cues are for normies, and I'm feeling brave today. "So what are you guys playing?" I ask, gesturing to their gaming setup while trying not to make it obvious I'm checking her out. Femanon starts explaining some co-op puzzle game while boyfriend checks his phone every 30 seconds like he's expecting a more important notification. She's getting really animated about the storyline and character development, and I'm thinking maybe I actually have a chance here. Then she drops the bomb. Marcus here doesn't really get gaming. He just comes to keep me company because I get weird looks when I'm here alone. Marcus looks up from his phone and gives me this look like he's calculating how long until he can escape this conversation. Yeah, it's not really my thing, but Violet gets excited about it, so I try to be supportive. He shrugs with zero enthusiasm. "Violet? Got it." Filing that information away for later use along with her obvious need for someone who understands her interests. I start going full weeb mode, explaining different game mechanics and dropping anime references left and right. Violet is eating it up, laughing at my jokes and actually engaging with everything I'm saying like I'm the most interesting person alive. Marcus is now openly scrolling Instagram and sighing every few minutes like he's being held hostage. Some other guy at the next table keeps glancing over, and I can tell he's listening to our conversation. After about an hour of this, Marcus stands up and says he needs to use the bathroom and maybe grab some air. Violet immediately leans closer and whispers, "Thank God, I've been wanting to talk to someone who actually understands this stuff for months." My heart does that thing where it thinks it's in a romantic comedy montage with slow motion and everything. "You know, we should hang out sometime without Mr. Normie over there cramping your style." She laughs and says, "He's sweet, but yeah, sometimes I need someone who speaks my language. You know what I mean?" I'm internally screaming because this feels like actual progress and not just my imagination running wild. Marcus comes back looking even less enthusiastic than before, and Violet immediately shifts back to her previous position. The energy completely changes and she goes back to including Marcus in everything, like nothing happened. I try to keep the conversation going, but it's like watching a video buffer on dial-up internet. Marcus suggests they should head out soon and Violet agrees way too quickly for my comfort. "It was really nice meeting you though," she says while gathering her stuff and avoiding prolonged eye contact. I ask for her social media and she gives me her Instagram handle written on a napkin like we're in middle school. They leave and I'm sitting there feeling like I just completed the tutorial level of dating but still have no idea what I'm doing. The guy from the next table comes over and introduces himself as Derek. "Dude, I watched that whole thing play out and I gotta say, you're either really brave or really stupid." Derek explains he's been coming here for months and has seen Violet and Marcus together the whole time. She does this thing where she gets really friendly with guys who share her interests, but she never actually leaves her boyfriend. I'm not ready to accept this reality, so I ignore Derek's warning completely. Spend the next 3 days crafting the perfect DM to send Violet, rewriting it like 17 times. Finally settle on something casual about a new anime that just dropped and how I thought she might be interested. She responds immediately with like 5 messages about how excited she is to watch it and how Marcus thinks anime is childish. We start chatting regularly and I'm convinced I'm making real progress towards something meaningful. She complains about Marcus not understanding her interests, and I'm there providing all the validation she could ever want. Derek keeps trying to warn me when I see him at the cafe, but I'm too deep in my delusions to listen. 2 weeks of constant messaging, and I decide it's time to make an actual move. Suggest we meet up to watch that anime together at my place, since she mentioned wanting to see it. She says, that sounds fun, let me check with Marcus first, because he gets weird about me hanging out with guys alone. Wait, why does she need permission from her boyfriend to hang out with a friend? This seems like a red flag. She gets back to me saying Marcus wants to come too because he doesn't want her going to some random guy's place. I'm annoyed but agree because at least I get to see her and maybe prove I'm not a threat. They show up and Marcus is clearly not happy about being dragged to watch cartoons with some stranger. Violet tries to explain the anime plot to Marcus while I'm setting up the TV and snacks like a proper host. Marcus is asking questions like, why does that girl have pink hair? And is this supposed to be realistic or what? Violet keeps apologizing to me for his comments, and I'm thinking, this is my chance to be the understanding, supportive one. My roommate Kevin walks through and gives me this look like he knows exactly what's happening here. Kevin grabs a drink from the fridge and says, enjoy your anime night. With the most sarcastic tone possible halfway through the first episode, Marcus gets a call and steps outside to take it. Violet immediately starts complaining about how Marcus doesn't make an effort with any of her hobbies or interests. You're so lucky you understand this stuff. I wish I had someone who could appreciate the same things I do. This is it. This is my moment to confess my feelings and change everything. Violet, I have to tell you something. I think I'm falling for you and I can't keep pretending we're just friends. She freezes mid-sentence and just stares at me like I just told her I killed her pet. The silence stretches on for what feels like 17 hours of pure social death. Finally, she says, oh, I thought you knew I was just looking for friends who shared my interests. My soul leaves my body and ascends to cringe heaven while my face burns with embarrassment. I have a boyfriend. I thought that was obvious from the beginning. Marcus walks back in at this exact moment and immediately senses the tension hanging in the air. Everything okay in here? He asks, looking between us with suspicious eyes. Violet quickly says, yeah, everything's fine. We were just discussing the plot and character motivations. Marcus sits back down but keeps glancing at me like he knows something happened while he was gone. I try to play it off like nothing happened, but my face is probably redder than a fire truck. The rest of the episode plays in the most awkward silence known to mankind. Marcus keeps putting his arm around Violet and she leans into him more obviously than before. I'm sitting there feeling like the third wheel on a bicycle built for emotional torture. Kevin walks through again and just shakes his head at me like I'm the biggest idiot alive. When the episode ends, Marcus immediately suggests they should leave because it's getting late. Violet agrees and starts packing up her stuff without making any eye contact with me whatsoever. Thanks for having us over, she says in the most formal tone possible, like we're business associates. They leave and I'm left alone with my shame, a half-empty bag of chips, and Kevin's judgmental stare. Kevin sits down and says, bro, did you seriously just confess to a girl while her boyfriend was in the next room? Spend the next hour getting lectured by Kevin about reading social situations and respecting relationships. Check my phone hoping for some kind of damage control message from Violet explaining everything. Nothing for 3 days straight, and I'm starting to panic about how badly I messed up. Finally get a text that just says, hey, I think we should just be friends. I hope you understand. The friendzone message I never wanted to receive, but somehow knew was coming all along. I respond with, yeah, totally understand, no worries at all, while internally having a complete breakdown. Kevin finds me stress-eating cereal at 2 a.m. and gives me the I told you so speech. Decide to avoid the gaming cafe for the next few weeks out of pure embarrassment and social anxiety. Derek texts me asking where I've been, and I explain the whole disaster to him. Dude, I literally warned you this would happen. She does this to every guy who shows interest. Apparently, Derek has seen this pattern with at least 3 other guys in the past year. When I finally work up the courage to go back to the cafe, Violet is there with Marcus again. They wave at me politely, but there's this invisible barrier now that wasn't there before. Marcus actually seems more relaxed around me, probably because he knows I'm not a threat anymore. Violet makes small talk for about 2 minutes, then goes back to her game like nothing ever happened. I order my usual drink and sit at a different table, trying to pretend I'm not dying inside. Overhear Marcus asking Violet if she wants to try that new restaurant downtown that just opened. She gets excited and starts planning their date right in front of me while I'm sitting 10 feet away. The irony hits me like a freight train that I'm watching her be happy with someone who doesn't share her interests. But somehow they make it work while I couldn't even get past the friend phase despite having everything in common. Derek comes over and sits with me, probably taking pity on my pathetic state. You want some advice? Stop trying to connect with girls over shared interests and start working on actual social skills. Marcus catches me staring and gives me this look that's not mean or threatening, just understanding. Like he knows exactly what happened and feels bad for me, but isn't threatened by my existence anymore. Violet never looks over at me again during their entire visit, and I'm starting to understand why. They leave holding hands, and I'm left wondering what Marcus has that I don't, besides obvious confidence. Derek explains that Marcus might not know anime from the live action, but he knows how to be a boyfriend. He knows when she needs space, when she wants attention, how to make her laugh without trying too hard. I knew what she liked, but Marcus knew who she was as a person, beyond her hobbies. Spend the drive home analyzing every conversation Violet and I ever had, looking for clues I missed. Realize I was so focused on shared interests, I forgot about actual human connection and compatibility. Get home, and Kevin is playing some fighting game with his girlfriend, Ashley, in the living room. Ashley asks how my anime date went, and Kevin just gives her a look that says, "Everything that bad, huh?" she says, and actually seems sympathetic instead of mocking. Delete Violet's Instagram from my phone, not out of anger, but because checking her stories was becoming unhealthy. Kevin suggests I should try talking to girls who aren't already in relationships next time. Revolutionary concept, I know, he says, while Ashley hits him with a pillow for being sarcastic. 2 months later, I'm back at the gaming cafe and see Violet and Marcus again. Violet has a new haircut and looks genuinely happy, in a way I never saw when we were talking. Marcus is actually trying to play some game she recommended and failing terribly at it. But Violet is laughing and helping him instead of getting frustrated or embarrassed. They look at me and wave like nothing ever happened, and the awkwardness has finally faded. Marcus mouths, "Sorry, dude," when Violet isn't looking, and I can tell he actually means it. I shrug back like it's no big deal, even though it kind of still stings a little. Derek joins me, and we end up having a normal conversation about games without any drama. Violet comes over during a break and asks how I've been in a genuinely friendly way. We chat for a few minutes about normal stuff. No anime references, no deep philosophical conversations, just regular human interaction without any underlying agenda or romantic tension. She mentions they're thinking about moving to Ohio after graduation because Marcus got some job opportunity. That's actually really cool, I say, and realize I actually mean it instead of just being polite when she goes back to Marcus. I don't feel that stabbing jealousy I expected. Just this weird acceptance that some people aren't meant to be yours no matter how much you have in common. Marcus gives me a respectful nod that feels like mutual understanding between two guys who've been through something. Like we both learned something about relationships and boundaries from this whole experience. I finish my drink and head out without any dramatic thoughts or life-changing realizations. Just another day of being a side character in someone else's love story and being okay with that. Kevin picks me up and asks how it went, and I tell him it was actually fine. Character development, he says, and I realize he's probably right about that. Ashley is in the passenger seat and asks if I'm ready to try dating someone who's actually available. Maybe, I say, and for the first time in months, it doesn't feel like a lie. Derek texts me later, asking if I want to hang out at the cafe tomorrow and meet some new people. Apparently there's this girl named Rachel who comes in on Thursdays, and she's single and into retro gaming. Just don't confess your feelings on the first conversation, Derek adds, with way too many laughing emojis that feel when you realize getting friendzoned taught you more about dating than years of online advice. My face when I learned that shared interests don't automatically equal romantic compatibility. Be me, 3 months after the great friendzoning disaster. Finally working up courage to talk to normal humans again. Derek keeps texting me about this Rachel girl who apparently shares my taste in retro gaming. Dude, she's actually single and not emotionally unavailable for once. Decide to give it a shot because my dating life can't possibly get worse than it already is. Walk into gaming cafe on Thursday like Derek suggested. Immediately spot this girl with short black hair playing some old school arcade fighter. She's actually good at it too, pulling off combos that would make tournament players jealous. Derek waves me over and introduces us without making it weird. Rachel, this is the guy I told you about who knows way too much about obscure Nintendo games. She looks up and smiles without that fake customer service energy most people have. Nice to meet you, Derek says you're pretty decent at retro stuff. We start talking about classic games and she's actually holding her own in the conversation. No boyfriend hovering around, no mentions of anyone else, just normal human interaction. After an hour, she suggests we play some co-op game, and I'm thinking maybe Derek was right about this. We're actually working well together. No awkward silences or forced conversations. Then Violet walks in with Marcus, and my stomach immediately drops to the floor. They see me talking to Rachel, and Violet gets this weird expression I can't read. Marcus nods at me like we're cool, but Violet keeps staring at Rachel. Rachel notices the tension and asks, "Friends of yours?" Sort of, it's complicated, I say, because explaining the whole situation would take forever. Violet comes over and introduces herself to Rachel with this fake sweet voice. "Hi, I'm Violet. I know this guy from when he used to come here all the time." Rachel is being polite, but I can tell she's picking up on weird vibes. Violet starts asking Rachel questions about her gaming setup and preferences. It feels like she's interviewing Rachel for some reason I can't figure out. Marcus pulls Violet aside and they have a quiet conversation in the corner. Rachel turns to me and says, "Okay, what's the deal with her? She's acting territorial." I give Rachel the basic rundown without going into embarrassing details. "Oh, so she's the one who friendzoned you, and now she's being weird about you talking to other girls." Rachel has this way of cutting straight through social nonsense that I actually appreciate. Violet comes back over and suggests we all play some multiplayer game together. Rachel agrees, but I can tell she's doing it to see what happens next. We set up a 4-player game and the dynamic is immediately weird. Violet keeps making comments about how Rachel plays compared to most girls. Rachel fires back with, "Thanks, I learned from actually practicing instead of relying on guys to carry me." Marcus looks uncomfortable and keeps trying to change the subject. I'm sitting here realizing I'm watching some kind of female dominance display. Violet starts name-dropping anime and games to see if Rachel knows them. Rachel knows most of them, but doesn't feel the need to prove anything. "Yeah, I've seen that one, and it's pretty good." Instead of going full weeb mode like I would after the game, Violet suggests they should all hang out more often. Rachel says maybe, in a tone that clearly means absolutely not. Violet and Marcus leave, but not before Violet gives Rachel this fake friendly goodbye hug. Rachel immediately turns to me and says she's definitely not over you. I'm confused because Violet has a boyfriend and friend-zoned me months ago. Dude, she was marking territory the entire time, classic jealous ex behavior. Rachel explains that some girls keep guys in emotional backup even when they're taken. She probably liked the attention you gave her and now she's mad someone else is getting it. We hang out for another hour and Rachel is surprisingly easy to talk to. She doesn't need constant validation about her interests or hobbies. When we exchange numbers, it feels natural instead of like I'm completing a quest. Walk home thinking maybe I actually learned something from the Violet situation. Kevin is making dinner and asks how the redemption arc went. Tell him about the Rachel situation and the weird Violet interaction. Bro, your ex-crush is totally jealous. This is actually hilarious. Ashley overhears and comes out to get the full story. Oh, honey, she's definitely regretting friend-zoning you now that you've moved on. Spend the evening getting relationship advice from Kevin and Ashley. They explain that some people only want what they can't have. Violet had you as her emotional support weeb, and now that safety net is gone. Text Rachel later, asking if she wants to hang out again this weekend. She responds immediately saying yes, and suggests this retro arcade across town. Feeling optimistic for the first time in months about my social prospects. Friday night comes, and I'm getting ready for my actual date with Rachel. Get a text from Violet asking if I want to hang out because Marcus is busy. This is the first time she's initiated contact since the friend-zoning incident. Tell her I have plans, and she immediately asks what kind of plans. Just hanging out with someone. Because it's none of her business, she keeps pushing for details until I finally tell her I'm going on a date. Oh, that's nice. With that girl from yesterday? Confirm it's Rachel, and suddenly Violet has a lot of opinions about her. She seemed kind of cold. Are you sure she's your type? Getting annoyed because since when does Violet care about my dating life? Tell her I have to go, and she sends 3 more messages about how Rachel seems fake. Kevin overhears me complaining and says, dude, just block her number. Meet Rachel at the arcade and she's actually dressed up, which is a good sign. We spend 2 hours playing old school games and she's genuinely fun to be around. No drama, no hidden agendas, just 2 people enjoying each other's company. She beats me at Street Fighter and doesn't apologize for it. You're better than I expected, but still not good enough, she says with a smirk dinner afterwards, and the conversation flows naturally without forced topics. She asks about my interests without making it feel like a job interview. When I mention the Violet situation, she says some girls collect orbiters. Sounds like you escaped? Walk her to her car and she gives me a quick kiss before leaving. This was actually fun. Let's do it again soon. Drive home feeling like maybe I'm finally figuring out how dating actually works. Violet has sent 5 more messages while I was gone, mostly asking how my date went and making passive-aggressive comments about Rachel. Kevin reads them over my shoulder and starts laughing. She's having a full meltdown because her backup plan found someone else. Ashley comes over to see what's funny and immediately recognizes the behavior. Oh, she's definitely catching feelings now that you're unavailable. They explain that Violet probably never saw me as relationship material before. But now that I'm moving on successfully, she's questioning her decision. It's like how you never want your old job back until you see someone else doing it better. Spend Saturday avoiding Violet's messages and hanging out with Rachel instead. We go to this comic book store and she actually knows what she's talking about. Not trying to prove anything, just genuinely interested in the same stuff I am. She buys some manga I recommended and I realize this is how normal relationships develop. Derek texts asking how things are going and I tell him Rachel is actually amazing. Told you so. She's been asking about you too. Apparently Rachel has been single for a while by choice, not because she can't get dates. She said most guys either fetishize her hobbies or try to change them. Monday comes and Violet is waiting outside the gaming cafe when I arrive. She's alone and immediately starts apologizing for being weird about Rachel. I just don't want to see you get hurt by someone who might not appreciate you. I'm confused because appreciation was never the problem with us. Violet, we're friends. You have a boyfriend. Why do you care who I date? She gets defensive and says she's just looking out for me as a friend. But then she starts crying and saying she made a mistake months ago. I thought I knew what I wanted, but seeing you with someone else made me realize things. This is the conversation I wanted to have 3 months ago, but now it feels too late. Tell her she can't have it both ways. She can't keep Marcus and me as backups. You friend-zoned me. I accepted it. I moved on. You don't get to change your mind now. She says Marcus doesn't understand her like I do, and maybe they should take a break. I'm realizing this is exactly what Derek warned me about months ago. Violet, figure out what you want with Marcus first, then worry about other people. She leaves upset and I'm feeling conflicted about the whole situation. Text Rachel explaining what happened because honesty seems like the right move. She responds saying, drama follows some people everywhere, thanks for the heads up. Instead of being jealous, she's actually understanding about the complicated situation. Ex-crushes coming back is like software updates, usually makes things worse. Meet up with Rachel that evening and she's surprisingly cool about everything. If she wants you back, she needs to earn it, not just guilt trip you. We spend the night playing games and she doesn't bring up Violet again. That feel when you realize the right person doesn't make everything complicated. My face when moving on was the best decision I ever made.